going to begin today with a bit of a discussion about a very healthy characteristic that I'm hoping is something that you are able to connect with, and that's the characteristic of self-awareness. Do you think of yourself as being a pretty self-aware individual? Now, I'm guessing that by virtue of the fact that you're at a place like this where you're trying to figure out life and how people engage with one another, that there's certainly a level of introspection that you like to dig in with, and that's a good thing. Psychologically healthy individuals like to know what's going on inside of their relationships. They like to zero in on the personal and the emotional dimensions. They like to look at what's happening in themselves, evaluate it, adjust when necessary, see how the attitudes that you carry are going to impact the way that you engage with. So, in other words, people who have a self-aware approach towards life, they pay attention. You pay attention to who you are. You pay attention to how you engage with other people. You pay attention to how your emotions reflect your core values. You pay attention to how your emotions impact other individuals. You pay attention to how you would respond to other people in a given set of circumstances and scenarios. You pay attention to the ways that your words impact other individuals. And so having that sense of attention, then you're going to be much more capable of being engaged in a healthy and successful way as individuals come across with you. Self-aware persons have the capacity for other healthy characteristics. They tend to have good insight. They're introspective. They tend to understand nuances and sensitivities that other people have, as well as their own nuances and sensitivities about themselves. They tend to factor in other people's unique life experiences and as they make personal interpretations about what's going on in front of them. They tend to learn from mistakes. They're able to pick up on others' mistakes and talk with them in a constructive kind of way. People who have self-awareness are able to store information about others for the purpose of engaging with them in a much more meaningful and connected kind of way. Sounds like a pretty good way to live life, doesn't it? And I'm hoping that as you try to figure out how you're engaging with the world around you, that this whole issue of self-awareness is something that you put a real premium on, because obviously it's going to pay quite a few dividends with many different people along the way. Now, one of the most common questions I'm asked relative to narcissism is, do narcissists know that they're narcissists? In other words, do they have self-awareness? Are they aware that some people see them as being problematic? Are they aware that they have a need for change? And one of my huge answers to that question is no, they tend not to be very self-aware. See, let's keep in mind that part of narcissism is the formation on the inside of them of the false self. Somewhere way deep in their personal development, they began realizing that characteristics like authenticity or emotional connectedness, that's not going to get you what you want. They want to be in control, and part of their need to be in control is to be very contained about how they reveal themselves. And so they portray themselves as one thing, but in fact, there's something entirely different that may be going on inside of themselves. But it's all part of keeping up their image, and in doing so, it allows them to maintain a certain kind of manipulation scheme over you. And as a result, the byproduct of the narcissistic false self is a very strong lack of awareness. Narcissists, in their lack of awareness, and when I say lack of awareness, I mean sometimes it's just crazy how far gone down the spectrum they are. Sometimes there's just a deep oblivion that they operate with. They honestly do not see themselves in a very clean or in a very honest way at all. In fact, let's just kind of take a look at what this lack of awareness produces inside of them. First, we can say that narcissists have a basic dishonesty that they live with. They're dishonest about themselves, And so therefore they're dishonest about you because they have to interpret you through their own dishonesty about who they are. In addition, they have a disinterest in making personal changes. With the lack of awareness, it's like, I don't need to change. I don't want to change. They're not interested if you come along and say, hey, there's something that you and I might be able to do different. And they may say, well, you need to do things different, but not me. Look who I am. I'm terrific. Another byproduct is they are dismissive in their attitudes toward you as you talk about personal matters. If you say something like, what you did was bothersome to me, or there's something that might be a bit better, would you be willing to listen to it? It's like, no. And they dismiss you. They are disruptive in their communications when personal problems are discussed. In that healthy communication between two self-aware people, there's a sense that says, I know you feel this, here's what I feel, let's take ownership of it, let's talk about it. The unaware narcissist is like, I'm not going to do that. And so their communication, instead of being agreeable, is very disruptive, and they're very argumentative. They are disagreeable when coordination is sought. Part of an awareness is, if there's something that I'm doing and you're doing that isn't working, let's talk about it. Whereas the narcissist is like, I don't need to talk about anything. You just need to do what I tell you. And then they can't approach disagreements with an agreeable attitude. They are disgusted by your needs. When you say there's certain things that I prefer, or there's certain things that I need for our relationship to go better, it's like, oh, it's so pitiable you being you. They're disgusted by you. They're dissatisfied by their associations with you. It's like, as you try to talk with them on that more deep and personal level, it's like, you just can't please me. And so there's a deep spirit of criticism that goes along with that. And then we can say they're disturbed when you fail to comply with what they say. Because you see, in their lack of awareness, rather than saying, let's go inside and talk about your interior and my interior, it's like, no. Then just go straight to their place of anger and agitation. And so here you have people who have a high level of awareness, and there are very healthy characteristics that are associated with that. You have the narcissist with their deep need for control and their high defensiveness, their exploitive and manipulative way. And it all is built upon a lack of honesty about who they are, who you are, and how they're impacting you. So here you are trying to bring awareness to the forefront of the way you do things. You're trying to have a sense of coordination with that individual who has a highly narcissistic pattern, and it's just like running into a brick wall. And I want you to notice that when you have your awareness and you're wishing for that narcissistic person to share that, and it won't happen, emotionally, what does it do to you? Well, it can charge up your anger. It can cause you to go into a pleading mode. It may be that you'll press your point more and more, so you become forceful and coercive. It may be that you become defensive as they flip it around and make you out to be problematic. You may walk away feeling insecure or uncertain because they're likely to just hammer you with all sorts of criticisms. You may be feeling bewildered. You may have a great deal of doubt. So one of the things that I want you to do as you try to figure out how you're going to respond to all of this is, let's understand that as the more aware person, you're actually going to have a little bit more psychic work that you'll be required to work through and to maintain. And just a few thoughts. There's my self-aware guy back there, Gus. Gus has got a little scratching going on there. He's itching today. Anyway, there's some things that I want you to be aware of that you can do so that you don't get pulled into their dysfunctional style of living. And the first thing that I want to encourage on your behalf is stop trying to make an unaware person aware. Every time that you operate with insight and ideas and understanding and empathy, and then you think surely this other person is going to reciprocate in a healthy kind of way, you're setting yourself up for heartache. It's not your job to make them be something that they can't be. So cease in your efforts. And then that implies another huge thought that goes right along with it, and that is drop your idealism in your self-awareness when it's like, I really like being tuned into emotions and relational issues and philosophies and values. It's so nice to think, surely this other person likes that kind of stuff too. And in fact, they don't. And the way that you know that you're in an idealistic way of thinking about this is you may hear yourself using phrases like, why can't you just? Or if only you would, or it seems to me like, or you've got to understand. Those are ideals that you're wishing to superimpose upon the relationship, and they're going to look at you like, I don't do that stuff, don't want to, and they don't even have a clue as to what you're referring to when you go there. And then a third thought is, keep in mind that when you attempt to try to make the unaware person act as if they are aware, you're actually focusing on the wrong person. You can't make that other person change. And when you put too much of your emotional energy into that narcissistic individual, you wind up being drained of your energy, and so you're not able to live into your own healthiness. And so cease the effort to try to make them become something that they're not going to be. So let's keep in mind this. It's wonderful that you can act as an aware person. There are many positive repercussions that come with that. And you have the ability to be a leader. You have an ability to be influential and to be well connected and engaged with other individuals. But let's also keep in mind there's some folks that just do not want to go there. They can't go there. When they see you attempting to go there, they think you're an idiot. Let them be that. And instead of trying to get pulled in by them, or allowing yourself to get pulled in by them, take the initiative with people who do know what to do with your good self-awareness. And in doing so, you can save yourself a whole lot of heartache. And on top of it, you're not going to let them have ultimate charge about your quality of life. They're not in charge of you. You're in charge of you. Take some self-awareness to be able to do this, but I'm going to make the assumption that you can. Now, Gus just kind of took her land. He's asleep in another part of my office now. Gus and I would like to invite you, if you haven't done so already, to go beneath the video, and if you haven't done so, to hit that subscribe button. We'd like to have you join with us as more videos come along. We'll keep you apprised of that. Also, beneath the video, you're going to see some links to some of my books, some online workshops. You're going to see some promotional things that we have there, some things that you might be interested in. And also, if you're interested in some online counseling and you feel like that's something that would be useful for you, we have a link for that as well. So just know that I'm honored that you would include me in your journey. And I want us all to work hard on being aware people. And in doing so, maybe in our own little spheres of influence, we can make this world a little bit better place to live in. Don't you think that's a good goal for each of us? That being said, I'll see you next time.